Pastor Charley here, wanting to wish you a very meaningful and contemplative Maundy Thursday. Of course, this is Holy Week, and I know it's a strange one for many of us. We've never really experienced a Holy Week like this one. Being isolated, having to practice social distancing, because for most of us, most Holy Weeks include connecting with our church family through Maundy, Thursday worship services or Stations of the Cross, and of course, Good Friday service, and obviously being together as we celebrate Easter. But not now, not this Holy Week. This Holy Week, we are forced to simply connect with one another remotely through the internet. And again, it's better than nothing, but it's just not the same, is it? But I hope this short devotional I have for you today on this Maundy Thursday will help ease the burden a little bit of being so far away from one another during this Holy Week. Before I go into talking about Maundy Thursday, I want to mention to you that last night your clergy team and worship team recorded a Good Friday service at the church. Don't worry, we practice social distancing. But we thought it was important for us to record a service like that for you. And I think you'll find it extremely meaningful. It certainly touched me as I was a part of it and moved me. So when it's posted tomorrow, I'm not sure what time yet, but it will be posted tomorrow, clearly. And so when it is, I encourage you to connect with it and tune into it and experience that service as we remember Jesus' sacrifice for us and what that means and what that implies for us as his followers. But before we get to Good Friday, of course, our first stop in Jesus' passion is Maundy Thursday. Now, some of you know that the word Maundy comes from the Latin word mandatum, which means commandment. And what commandment is that? Well, that commandment is Jesus' new commandment in the context of having the Last Supper with his disciples and washing their feet. He says to them, "A new commandment I give unto you, that you love one another as I have loved you." That's the commandment this day is referring to. And that's significant because Maundy Thursday, as it signifies the beginning of the passion of Christ, really is Jesus' last lesson. Because, of course, we know after the Last Supper, Jesus will be taken and he will be beaten and tortured and crucified. So really, this is the last time Jesus will be with his disciples and have the ability to teach them. And so Jesus chooses as his last lesson to wrap everything up because he knows his time is near. He wants to get across to them one more message, which I think really is the great summary of all of his ministry. When he says, you really want to know, you want to sum up my ministry to you? It's this new commandment that you love one another as I have loved you. And Jesus being Jesus, he doesn't just say it, he shows it. Jesus wasn't just words, he was action. And so, in that context, he said, love one another as I have loved you, and I'm going to show you. And he washed the disciples' feet. A task that was only for slaves in that culture and context. Yet Jesus took the form of a slave, a servant, and washed the disciples' feet to show them what it means to love. Now, I don't know if you know this, but during worship, during traditional worship, your clergy, we wear robes, but we also wear stoles, those things around our neck that drape down. Of course, mine sometimes are uneven. Forgive me for that. But they signify what happens on Maundy Thursday. Jesus used a towel, the text says, to wash and dry the disciples' feet. And so we wear those. One of the reasons why we wear those stoles is because they symbolize and signify that towel that we are to use as well as servants to wash disciples' feet. But washing disciples' feet also is just another way of saying we are to be servants. And so we wear those things to remind us that we are servants as Christ's followers, and to remind all those we preach to and all those we're in ministry with that all of us as Jesus' followers are called to be servants as we love one another. And again, I think this is significant because of all the things Jesus could say to his disciples the last time he was with them. When you think of all the teachings and all the lessons, he chose this one, that you love one another as I have loved you. And then later he would say, in this setting, by this the world will know you're my disciples if you have love for one another. Not by how you interpret Scripture, not by how you worship, not by how you baptize, not by your doctrine, not by your theology, no, but by your love for one another. That's why this day, stands apart. That's why this day begins the Passion of Christ, because it reminds us of Jesus' most important lesson, a lesson that summarizes all of his lessons, a lesson that summarizes all of his teaching and all of his actions and all the things that he demonstrated during his 3-year ministry, trying to tell us over and over and over again, and finally, in the last act, the crucifixion, showing us what it looks like, that as Christ's followers, we are to have love for one another. That's how the world will know, by our love for each other, by our love for our enemies, by our love for those who are unlovable, by our love for one another. And again, as Christians, it's for some reason easy for us to forget that. But it's so simple. Sometimes it's hard to live out, I know. But it's the only thing that's going to change this world. And I've said it before. The only thing that's going to change this world is love and forgiveness. And of course, a byproduct of love is forgiveness. If we have true unconditional love that Jesus demonstrated, we will forgive, which is one of the great meanings of the cross. But on this Maundy Thursday, I want us to remember that we set aside this day to remember Jesus' most important lesson, that we love the world as he loves it. And it's the only thing that's going to change this world. It's the only thing that's going to bring healing and wholeness and peace in the midst of these times. So I hope that's helpful to you on this Maundy Thursday. I know that many of you feel lonely and you feel isolated. Maybe you feel discouraged. Maybe you're fatigued. Maybe you're burned out. Maybe you're tired of looking at a screen. Maybe you're tired of trying to figure out different things to do with your kids or with your spouse. I know it's difficult, but I want to say this. Sunday's coming. Yes, Maundy, Thursday today, and we have Good Friday, but Sunday's coming. Not only for us as Christians during this Holy Week as we celebrate Easter, but there will be a resurrection. We will be back in church together soon. We will have that fellowship. We'll celebrate a new resurrection and a renewal as the church, appreciating so much what it means to be together as the body of Christ. I love you. Don't lose hope. Don't lose your faith. Keep the faith. And of course, always remember that as a Christ follower, the most important characteristic, the most signifying key characteristic is your love for the world and for each other. Take care.